Hi, welcome back to Convergence Knowledge Bytes with a Y, where we break down complex technology and security topics into bite-sized pieces for business owners and leaders to help educate themselves on how to make better decisions about moving their companies forward. Today, we're going to be wrapping up our series on payment card industry compliance, PCI compliance, and point of sale POS, and payment processing with our good friends from PaySuite, Mr. Keith Sconiers. Thanks again as we wrap up this episode. Looking forward to this. This is kind of the final chapter of the whole thing as we move forward in looking at this. And the focus of today is kind of culminating around this idea of choosing the right SAQ. Now, in many cases, this is not something that the business owner chooses. It's actually something that PCI tells them they have to be doing, right? They can't just kind of like throw dart at the wall and say, oh, I guess I want to do that one today or this one today. It's not really about choosing. It's really about understanding what SAQ you have to go through, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish it would be a little easier, but making sure you understand which one you need to be doing is really important. Otherwise, you might spend a lot of time doing something that you might have to start over and do again. Or you may submit the wrong one and be told that you're out of compliance and then have to realize, like, what do you mean? What did I do wrong here? Right?
Which is very easy to do, I might add. Obviously when we're onboarding accounts and we're helping people figure out what SAQ, oftentimes they'll log in and start asking some of the preliminary questions that the system will prompt them to answer. And oftentimes I go in and I'm like, wow, you're not on the right one. So let's start over.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll ask you, are you taking payments online? Are you taking payments in person? Right. There's all these different questions that it'll ask you. If you answer one question wrong, you end up on the wrong road.
Yes.
It's very easy to complete one and be completely wrong as it relates to your status of compliance.
And nobody likes to waste time.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I'm not surprised that you say that, because we've gone into organizations that have previously completed SAQs and done the discovery and asked them, why did you do this one? Why is this one in your system on file for last year? That's not the right one.
Yeah.
And their eyes kind of, what do you mean it's not the right one? I just went through and I was like, you must have answered something incorrectly then, because based on our discovery, you need to be in this bucket.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So who in your world that you run across is doing the SAQ all themselves?
Correctly or incorrectly?
Let's make it a two-part question.
Yeah.
Who's trying to do it all themselves, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are trying to do it themselves.
Okay.
Right. And then there's a lot of people who are not doing it, or are completing the wrong one, or just checking boxes and moving on. Right. So I think that there's varying levels of compliance done correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
You help your customers though, don't you? You help them through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I find is unique, because there are a number of ISOs and others that say, nope, hands off. We don't get involved with that. We're just selling you the point of sale and the merchants and payment processing. We don't get involved in completing your SAQ with you. Yeah.
I mean, someone has to be there to translate the language.
Yeah.
Right. Because,
well, how many SAQs are there? How hard is it, Keith?
Right. Seriously though. Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
It's not easily digestible, and it's not an easy question to answer oftentimes. Right. So IT has to be involved, should be involved. And there's a lot of, to be frank, there's a lot of small business owners who don't have IT help.
Right.
They're going it alone with that. They have Comcast who came in and plugged in a router and turned on the Wi-Fi and said, congratulations, your business is connected to the internet. Pay us your 150 to $250 a month.
Yeah.
And call us if it goes down.
Well, help everybody understand, what's the difference between a merchant level and an SAQ? What's the core difference?
Great question. So a merchant level has more to do with how many transactions you're processing on an annual basis, with one variation being e-commerce or card present. When you look at a SAQ, you're looking at a number of different factors that go all the way down into what type of hardware are you actually using and how many different payment channels do you have.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a number of different questions that you'll get asked in the pre-assessment as it relates to your PCI compliance that'll help you determine which SAQ you're supposed to be using.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I'm guessing a lot of small businesses typically fall into one of two buckets, right? Much like the merchant level, there's usually small businesses, you fall into one or two buckets, which is good. But as your business changes and evolves, your SAQ could change and evolve with your business, right? So what are some of the criteria used in determining which SAQ is appropriate for a business?
Yeah. So are you using a virtual terminal? Meaning, are you keying in credit card information into a website browser?
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah. Are you using point-to-point encryption on devices that are certified as being
good?
P2P,
yeah.
P2P.
Certified keyword there.
Yeah. Because I worked at a major provider, which was like touting into encryption. But when you look at the approved devices and certified solutions on the PCI DSS website, it wasn't listed, which many merchants were opting into taking the questionnaire that had the least amount of requirements if you were certified P2PE, but the solution wasn't actually certified. I don't know if it's still certified to this day.
Yeah. Well,
for almost a decade. So
for the techie folks that might be listening to this, there's a difference between being point-to-point encryption and encryption, right? A device can be encrypted,
correct,
and you can have an encrypted device, but point-to-point encryption is different, right? And so those words, the nuance between the two of them, you put it in a marketing slick, right? And it's like this, there you go. It's encrypted. Well, most credit card transactions are actually encrypted.
Yeah.
Even from your squares and things like that, as soon as you swipe it on the app, it gets encrypted, right? But it doesn't mean it's a point-to-point encrypted hardware, right? Yeah, there's a little difference there, the nuance.
Right.
What are some of the, so those are two key pieces of criteria. What's maybe a third or fourth one?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the third question that you might get asked is, for example, are you utilizing a third party to collect payment information for you?
Okay.
Right. So this might be if you have a collections department that's not technically a part of your business, right? That's a whole nother requirement, because you have a completely separate business outside of your business that's collecting credit card information on your behalf. So how many of those relationships do you have?
Good. Right. That's a good third one. Yeah.
So that's another one that could dictate what sort of questions are going to pop up when it comes to your SAQ.
Yeah. I think the fourth one that I see from the old days, I say the old days, right? Where you gave a credit card over the counter.
Yeah.
You took out the slip. The double clank machines. And they take an imprint, right? A paper imprint of your credit card.
Yeah.
I mean, that even is still happening in some places, right? And I don't see it very often anymore, but I'm sure there are businesses that still do it that way.
Yeah.
That's a whole other self-assessment questionnaire. by
You know what's
itself.
interesting about that, which is like a segue away from our conversation, but imagine if you were in the business of making those things and then all of a sudden the banks decided that they weren't going to raise the card numbers any longer, right? Which if you look at credit cards today, it's like that whole
It's
business went away.
digitally printed. It's not actually
Yeah.
an impression that you can
Yeah.
take anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing is I think those old school slips still allow you to write it on there.
Yeah, they do.
And it carbon copies and
Yeah.
makes the whole thing. But I mean, yeah, the industry changes. Well, that whole machine isn't, it's kind of obsolete at that point. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So what happens though if you fill out the wrong one or some of your answers aren't 100% accurate?
Then you're not compliant.
Yeah. And you sort of have to start over like we talked about. But what if you thought that was the right one and you just accidentally answered one of the questions wrong in the pre-assessment that sort of helped you get to a path? Do you have any leeway to go back and be like, oh my goodness, what do you mean? Let me fix this? Or, how does that work?
Yeah, you can start over. You can go back and reassess. That's where you have to, that's where you would, once you realize that you filled out the wrong one, you just have to go back and redo the assessment, which most systems will let you do. You just have to know how to manipulate the website that you're using for handling your SAQ.
Kind of like a save and restart or save and go back or whatever process. A lot of the platforms allow you to do that now. So you can actually go back because something comes up at the tail end and you're like, wait a minute, this is weird. Why is it saying no? Why is it giving me a big red thing saying this isn't right or whatever? Yeah. Where do you've done a few SAQs, you've worked with a handful of players. What is the SAQ that you are most commonly helping your customers complete?
Either the SAQ, which is for the virtual terminal, because I work with a lot of businesses that don't have a physical location, they're only using a browser for processing payments. Or the one that is for e-commerce merchants where they're taking it through their website, right? Or the P2PE assessment, which is for merchants only using P2PE certified devices.
Yeah, which is the P2PE/HW SAQ. And I think let me see if I remember. No, I'm going to have to look. E-commerce only looks like it's the A-EP for reference purposes. And I think the one that's doing the other one is
BIP.
Yeah, BIP or B. I think it's B, SAQB.
Yeah.
Which is imprint machines, no electronic, standalone dial-out terminals, no electronic card holder storage. I see a lot of those in small convenience stores where they, you get the little thing, they swipe it, you go on your way, prints out a little piece of paper, and you get going. Yeah. Every organization has to fill out their SAQ at a different time, right? Depending on when your agreement requires it of you. Self-assessment questionnaire, right? We had talked a little bit earlier about, do you do an SAQ with them when they implement the new solutions? And you had said in some cases yes, in some cases no, right? And why is that? Can you help us understand why that is?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the level of the organization. So for more sophisticated organizations who do have maybe either internal IT or they have a IT company that they're working with where they are maintaining a good hygiene around compliance, they already have their documentation of when they last did their assessment, and it's already been documented. So they are already on schedule for, let's say that we are introduced mid-schedule, right? Year of their annual assessment that they do. If they have that documentation, which most small businesses don't per se, then we can then our system, the systems out there already will actually let you upload that documentation if you've proven to be compliant, right? So in that case, they don't have to redo it. But if they haven't done it, then we just help them get up and running in terms of like going through their pre-assessment questionnaire, determining what assessment is right for their business, and then being there as a resource to help answer questions as they fill it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. We use the process internally where you have your initial assessment
Right.
and then the ongoing assessment. And anytime you make a change to your equipment or
Mm-hmm.
your merchant processor, there's another initial assessment of that new system, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you go back into your ongoing assessment things, which
Sure.
is essentially ongoing assessments. Really, are you completing the monthly, the quarterly, the annual, all the annual stuff? And that's really more of the care and feeding exercise. But that initial assessment of deployment of the equipment, because something's changed, right?
Yeah.
Somebody might have accidentally put it onto the wrong network or whatever. So anyway, well, this has been really awesome to do this with you. We are going to wrap up our series on payment card industry and point of sale systems. Hopefully you all have gained some little nuggets here and there throughout the process of watching and participating and giving us some of your time as we share this information with you. Thank you to PaySuite and Keith for giving us your wisdom and your knowledge and your experience. And if any of you do want to reach out, we've shared it a number of times. Get a hold of this guy, Keith, at PaySuite or GoPaySuite.com. Almost messed it up on the last episode. Oh my God. And then go further at ConvergenceNetworks.com. Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it. And we've got more coming with other interesting topics. So keep your eyes out for the next video release. Take care. Thanks.